Hi guys, how you doing? Senior Gaming here, and in today's episode I'm bringing you Vahn's Quest, and I got for you character selections for beginners. So if you're Vahn's Quest player or perhaps idle gamer, then make sure you subscribe to the channel as I post as often as possible and bring you best tips and advice. Alright then, so we need to take into consideration that the game actually got 36 different characters to choose from. So obviously you need a good indication of which you should effectively focus on, and we need to bear in mind as well this is just a beginner strategy, so the setup might change in the later stages. So it's definitely first thing which is worth noting that it's actually definitely very hard to upgrade characters in this game. So therefore, as you see, I have managed to get first 10 characters into a 1 purple stars, which means it's now on a 6 star, and actually character, if we look on to upgrade, can be upgraded all the way up to 8 stars. So I'll bring you a handful of characters from each class. Again, we've got obviously Ranger class, we've got a melee class, and we've got a tanker. So, I'll tell you which one you should effectively focus on, and rest of the characters potentially you can dismantle into a epic stones, which you will need to upgrade your main ones you're currently focusing on, as well as upgrading skills. So when it comes to this hero selection I'm bringing you today, in comparison to other characters, they very strong individually. So what I'm having for you today, that's why it's a beginner's guide, because we're talking about this very quickly upgrade into 6 stars, and obviously these individual characters being either very tanky or being a great damage dealers. And I believe later on the strategy might change as there is more characters with a slightly weaker individual skills, but there is overall party boost, which then obviously might massively benefit all the 4 characters you've got at your setup, and obviously also you've got these support characters to choose from. Alright then. So without further ado, we're gonna kick off first with a tank class. And I've got for you 2 characters which are very similar one to another. Again, individual skill and survivability here. So I've got for you Bruta. So if we actually have a look at Bruta skills, obviously first one, it's very good and very important. We're increasing here party attack, so that's what you want as additional boost for your party. And then we're talking here about this individual skill of boosting HP. It's currently 77% because I managed to put it to level 3. As mentioned earlier, characters I have not used, I dismantle into epic stone, and that's why I get more stones obviously to play around and upgrade skills for the characters I want. So as you see now, upgraded to level 4, you already need these hero stones of Bruta itself, but I'll be looking firstly to upgrade Bruta to a 7 stars before trying to attempt any other skill upgrade. Okay, so we got that out of the way. So we've got individual HP boost, then we're moving into a party HP boost as a additional skill. Again, we're talking here about more HP, and then finally on that 8 stars, Bruta actually will have this massive boost, as we have seen the level 3 giving us 77%, where in here level 1 itself gives us 67% HP boost. So that's gonna be always a great tank to have at your disposal, and definitely if you go for a stage boost, I currently go with a 2 tank setup, and that works for me very well. You definitely want to have 1 good tank, and you might go with either 2 or 3 damage dealers. So then we're talking about a second choice, or either or. Entma might be your primary one and Bruta might be your secondary, whichever obviously you're gonna land your hero stones better off. We're talking here about very similar skills, so we're boosting our own HP, then we're boosting a party HP, and in comparison 8 stars actually reducing incoming damage in comparison to having more HP. So very similar characters, as to say. And then finally I've got these extra characters I wanted to talk about, and that's actually Ragna. So as mentioned, Ragna is not gonna be as strong individually, but she's great of actually boosting overall party output. So as we currently see, the second skill itself already reducing incoming party damage. Then we're talking here about boosting party HP, very similar to the other two characters we mentioned. Then we've got additional a party attack, so obviously that's when attacking we got 5% chance to do so. Then we're talking here about further party attack boost, and finally, I know it's only 2%, but that's additional chance of boosting party attack speed. So this tank itself got actually 5 skills which potentially can boost your overall party. Therefore, I think this might be a setup for a very late gameplay. Alright, and now we're gonna move on to a melee class, and the first one I've got for you today is Oaths. Again, very heavily focused on individual skills to give as many damage output as possible. So I believe apart skills which boost in either attack or attack speed, there are quite important skills which got additional chance of boosting that damage. And that's one of these skills. As you see, we got 75% chance to actually inflict additional damage. Then we're talking here about party attack speed, which is great. I got to upgrade it shortly onto level 3 to boost overall obviously attack speed for the whole party. Then we're talking here about this massive boost to individual attack of 49%. Then we're talking about further increased attack speed, and finally on 8 stars further attack of 27%. So we're talking here about massive focus on individual character giving this massive damage boost. And when I'm talking about these later stages, obviously heroes like Oaths, it's great to have as a support character, boosting your overall attack output, whilst you might have a different characters which gonna obviously boost your overall party. So then the second character I've got for you today, I have actually just recently unlocked it, it's gonna be Curve. So we're talking here again individual skills, and the second skill having 50% chance, you know, it's less than 75, but it's just toss of the coin. We're talking here about individual damage. Then we've got here massive boost to attack speed by 21%. Then we actually talk about, you know, very precious skills that it's quite rare, and that's boosting its own critical rate, and 11% is actually quite massive. Then we're talking about boost to increase party attack speed, and finally further attack increased by a massive 67%. Okay, then we're moving into a third character. I actually have not even unlocked it yet, but I know it's on everybody's agenda. So we're talking here about, you know, additional 50% chance for dealing damage. Then we're talking here about skill damage, and obviously once you're gonna be in either PvP or farming, you're gonna land these skills, and having a boost to your skill damage, it's great, because this is where mainly you know, this massive damage coming from. Then we're talking here about additional party attack 25%, and the rest of the skills are pretty much relying on critical hits, so they might land, they might not, but obviously we're talking here about good damage output and this additional skill damage. And then here I've got as well for you additional character I want to talk about, and that's gonna be a Frazier. And the Frazier again might be good in the later stages. So obviously once again the character itself will boost its own critical, which is great, because for example the last skill, it's actually increasing a massive attack by 127% when crit hit. So having this you know, passive bonus, it's definitely great. But we're talking here about 4 skills for a party. So we're talking here about a increase in party attack. Then we're talking here about obviously when attacking having a chance to increase party critical damage. Then we're talking here about, you know, critical, which we mentioned already, landing that will give us party attack by 230%, and that is massive. And then we also boost in here a party critical damage. So again, we're talking here 4 additional skills to boost our overall party. Okay? And now we're finally moving into a ranged class, and one of the ranged classes is gonna be Elda, and this is the one I'm currently using. Again, we're talking here individual skills. Here is only 30%, but a massive damage output of 528%. We've actually got a boost to a party critical rate, which is great. You know, we're boosting now every single character chance for a critical. Then we are boosting our own attack, and as you see level 3, that's already whooping 112%. and then remaining skills are actually great when it comes to additional damage, but we need to have this critical hit. But obviously having a character which already boosting your critical chance for entire party, this is obviously more likely to happen. Okay, then the second one we've got, and this is also the one I'm using, it's Phalanx. Similar, obviously individual skills. Here we're talking about increasing attack speed, and that's 42%. So you can actually, once you got Phalanx on that full speed, you can see the difference in comparison to other characters. And then we've got actually a additional party attack speed, so that's for all party, and then we got a 50% chance of additional damage. And Phalanx itself as well got two actually buffs to boost a party attack speed, and I got to say this lands pretty well when it comes to farming, and that's whooping 96%. And as well, second skill as well got a chance of boosting a party critical rate, and that's by a whooping 29%. This number is definitely massive. Then another preferred choice, and I do not have this character on a high level yet, it's definitely Hall. And again, when we talk skills here, so we've got individual critical rate 10%, again massive number. We're talking about individual attack boost by 56% on a first skill. We're talking here about party attack speed, and then finally additional attack speed on a 8 stars. So this is one of the characters a lot of players as well going with. And then again, obviously lastly I've got for you additional character which I believe might be great in the later stages. So we're talking here Al Kappa, and then Al Kappa actually got a 6 skills which might boost your overall party, and that's just massive. So in here there's obviously a chance to heal one of the party, you know, it's only 2%, but every little helps. Then we're talking here about party attack, then we're talking here about chance of actually increasing party critical rate. Then next skill is boosting party critical damage, and then finally last two boosting party attack, and also when we land the crit we got a further chance to boost party attack. So we're talking here about 6 skills out of 8 which might boost our overall party. So I believe later on all the 3 characters I mentioned, which is obviously between every class, so we're talking here a tank, ranger and melee, might be a something you want to implement in your strategies. But for the time being, go ahead and focus on these characters. This is most of the characters either myself or other players choosing to start with, and obviously as mentioned, having these individual skills and only be able to pretty much upgrade them to a 6, maybe 7 stars to start off, you'll be having a good upper hand in comparison to other players. Alright then guys, so this was pretty lengthy video, but that gives you now indication of who and why you should go with. If you liked it, then make sure obviously you subscribe to the channel, and as always, I'll see you next time.